Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And we get to talk all about conservation. We are joined by Ellen Messerly. She's the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Land Trust for Tennessee. How are you doing, Ellen?
Hi, Jeremy. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well. So you all do tremendous good all across the state of Tennessee. And so let's start with a little bit of history and context. 1999, carry us forward with a little bit of history.
Yeah, so the Land Trust was founded in 1999. Phil Bredesen was part of the founding group of the Land Trust. And it was founded by some conservation-minded individuals who really felt a passion about protecting land here in Tennessee. So that's kind of where we got our start here in Middle Tennessee. And from there, the work of the Land Trust has grown to cover tip to tip, basically all across the state. We protect more than 400 different properties at this point, and continue to work with landowners and different communities to protect the land that's important to the people of Tennessee. So we've been on quite a journey, and we look forward to continuing our work into the future here.
So over 130,000 acres conserved, which is tremendous. Talk about working with the landowners and the different organizations and why your role is so pivotal to be able to protect it, not just now, but for future generations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so something a little unique about Land Trust is that we do play a huge role in helping conserve private land. So we, in addition to a lot of the public parks and lands that are protected, we're able to work with landowners who are really passionate about seeing their property protected forever and ever. So we are able to come to an agreement with that landowner to work to kind of protect their property. And our role as the Land Trust is to be sure that that is upheld until forever. Our work is in perpetuity. So this property will have kind of this conservation plan for it until the end. So that's our job and our role. And yeah, again, we do work with a lot of landowners. We also help facilitate land protection with different agencies and community partners. So there's a lot of different ways that we work to help protect those places.
And I think just, from a public standpoint, that's important to realize that way, when you talk about if something happens to that individual, that land is still protected. And so it won't be sold and, put into obviously like high rises and apartments and things like that. You can protect that land and conserve it for its natural habitat, which is obviously important for our future. So give us a little bit of an illustration when you talk about some of the different projects. You mentioned over 400. So give us maybe a little bit of an illustration of maybe a small and a large, or just the first ones that come to your mind that kind of illustrate your work.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our smallest is actually about a half an acre property in downtown Nashville. And it's a woman's little beautiful garden down there. And that just kind of shows the range of properties that we protect. Really, we look at the different conservation values of different properties. It's not necessarily a minimum size or a maximum size. So I would say that that's kind of a fun one that we point out as there's not a minimum size. So that's a neat one. So we have helped protect a lot of public land as well. So another one I would point out is Fiery Gizzard. We protect a lot of neat land in and around the Cumberland Plateau area in the southeast. So Fiery Gizzard is a really neat hiking spot that I know a lot of outdoorsy people might enjoy. I went hiking there a little while back, and it was quite an adventure. So that's one. And then one more I'll point out is a project we're currently working on, again in the southeast, called Walden's Ridge Park, and that is an initiative where we're working with several different groups to open a park down there for, I think it has mountain biking trails and lots of neat outdoorsy things, and I think climbing as well. So that's another neat project that's in the works right now. So got a lot of good stuff going on.
Absolutely. How much of it is individuals, organizations coming to you versus you all strategically and proactively going out and saying, okay, we need to protect this area because of either watershed or environmental concerns or the species and, the animals that are there. How much of it is the proactive versus people kind of reaching out to you and you helping them?
Yeah, I'd say it is primarily, we like for people to reach out to us because it shows that they really have that conservation motivation behind protecting their land. I will say that we recently developed a conservation plan, which does outline some of the really important resources in Tennessee and kind of comes up with these core areas that we want to really target to protect land in those areas, because Tennessee has some of the most amazing and important natural resources that we have started to move towards really targeting certain areas and resources to protect.
And the tourism side of this, I think, will play a role into what we're going to talk about next. But talk about, because you mentioned the trails, and I think there is a piece of this when you talk about Tennessee and just the tourism side, but obviously for all of us as citizens to be able to enjoy nature, protecting the trails and the ability to go out and just enjoy, whether it's the community gardens and the gardens and the beautiful, arboretums, like all of those kind of things. Very important for the kind of the commerce side of our and the livelihood side of our state. So talk about it from that standpoint of tourism and activation and even economic development on the tourism side.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that that's huge as well. That ties into a lot of kind of my work and my role at the Land Trust of, if we don't have people that are getting outside and enjoying the trails and enjoying the outdoors, then we don't have people who are supporting our work. So that is something that's really important. That does support the economy, but that also supports a mindset of people who are willing to protect those places in the future. So that's kind of where my work ties in. I do a lot of our education programs also. So working with kids and the future generations who are going to grow up and need to be able to appreciate these places because they will be the ones stewarding this land in the future. So definitely important to be getting people out there also.
Well, that will carry us forward into the Land Trust Glen Leven Farm. Go ahead and describe. So 64 acres, literally just outside, the main part of Nashville. So talk about the farm.
Yeah, so the Glen Leven Farm is right here in downtown Nashville. And it is it is our home base for our Middle Tennessee offices, I'll say. And it is kind of a really great example of our work. So it's 64 acres. There's a 1.5 mile nature trail. We have some livestock here, some miniature donkeys and cattle, and a garden. There's so many neat things that are happening here. And it just is an amazing example of a farm that is in the middle of Nashville, which anybody from this area knows is just growing and growing and growing at a rapid rate. And this is 64 acres here that will be green farmland and forest land forever and ever. So it's a really special place that we protect, but also that we use to kind of invite the community in to see what our work really means.
You mentioned Dave and Shelby, the miniature donkeys, but talk about some of the neat aspects, including a lot of partnerships. When you look at things like the hops and the garden, you have a lot of different partnerships with the community that bring all this to life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's some really neat ways, that we are able to partner with some different organizations. So the hops, Jackalope does grow hops here, so they have a structure to grow some hops so they can brew some local brews. And we also work with the Hermitage Hotel. They have at least 2 acres here to grow food for their restaurant. Druzy and Dar, I believe, is their new restaurant that's just opening. And then we also work with a woman who has her cattle here. She leases some or boards them here essentially. So she's able to, we're able to maintain a sustainable rotational grazing method with those cattle. And it's really neat to have them here and kind of reminisce on the history of the cattle that have been on the property. So.
You have a May nature hike Saturday, May 14th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Talk about the nature hikes and the ability even to tour the home.
Yeah, so May is a neat one. So our nature hikes is really an opportunity. It's a monthly opportunity that we like to open up to the public to visit the property and to kind of walk the trail, visit the animals, and walk around the historic home. It's on the second Saturday of every month, because normally we're not open to the public. So we do like to have that opportunity. In May, we do have the historic home that will be opened, and we'll have a tour. So it's a neat opportunity. We have people asking all the time if they can go in the house. So we're excited to be able to finally do that here for the May one. And then June, we have on the docket as well, themed around pollinators. So hoping to have some bees out and have them. So yeah, we're excited to get people out here and just kind of get to enjoy this place.
When you talk about the house, what's one or two things that maybe are your favorite aspects, or things that you're like, hey, when you go through, you definitely need to pay attention to this?
Yeah, ooh, good question. One of my favorite fun facts that we use with the kids a lot when we have field trips, but you'll actually see I'm sitting in front of a fireplace. Every room in this house has a fireplace because they didn't used to have heat. So you'll actually notice all the different fireplaces in every room that you go in as you walk around. So that's kind of a fun fact. And there's really a lot of detail in the woodwork here. So it's really neat to look at that. But I guess those are just a few things. Yeah.
Nice. Talk about the education side, because I mean, obviously you're kind of alluding to it, but when you talk about the kids programs, working with the youth, the conservation efforts, but just education in general, those outreach programs, give a little bit more description.
Yeah, so we have a few different ways that we've been working with, really kind of trying to get plugged in with metro schools to work with different kids of different ages. So we do host field trips here where they get to go through different stations, walk through the house. And we're also plugged in with some middle schools and high schools, doing a lot of STEAM work, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And we do have a volunteer program as well. So we have volunteers come out to help with maintenance, to help with invasive removal, and hosting some like corporate groups and other volunteer opportunities like that. So that's another great way to get involved if people are looking to support our work too.
Yeah, go ahead and carry that forward into how else can the community help? So obviously volunteerism. When you talk about even the nature hikes, Saturday, May 14th, again, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's a great opportunity. What are some other ways we can help?
Yeah, so those are great ones. I would say volunteering is really a neat way to get involved. Showing up for those nature hikes, just getting people out here is really our goal. Getting people, helping people learn about our work, I'd say. And then we are a completely donor-funded organization. So obviously the monetary donations are really critical to keeping our work continued into the future as well. So those are a few different ways I'd say that people can get involved.
For those outside of the Middle Tennessee area, what are some other ways that they can help? And obviously, when you talk about just the land conservation efforts, reaching out to you, that's obviously an easy one. But what are some other ways that other communities can get involved and help?
Yeah, so we love to engage people as land ambassadors is what we call it, because we don't always have those opportunities to get on the ground in all parts of the state right now, since it is such a wide area that we cover. But really being an ambassador for the land trust and for our work that we do, talking to people that might live near you who have property who might be interested in protecting it. So kind of in those ways, I think being aware of our work and the conservation goals is a really just an important part for anybody to play.
Absolutely. Wrap up with contact information. So website, email, phone numbers, where do we need to go to learn more and to plug in?
Absolutely. Our website is landtrusttn.org, and that would be a great source for a lot of information about our organization, about our events coming up, our programs happening here at Glen, Levin and elsewhere. And we're also on socials, which is also Land Trust TN. on across the board, and our phone number, if you would like to give us a ring. We have some great people answering phones to answer questions. That is 615-244-5263. And we're happy to kind of answer any questions that people have about us.
Nice. The website again, landtrusttn.org. So landtrusttn.org. Ellen, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it. It's been great.